Rafael, you graduated from MIT and having some experiences in Amazon and then Cisco, you came up with your own startup, which is building technologies for autonomous vehicles. And you know, autonomous cars and electric cars, car sharing are some of the trend topics. And which technologies do you think will be emphasized for the future of the automotive industry? And do you think we will see the autonomous cars like widely in the streets in a very near future, or is it overrated a little bit?
Hi everybody. So in my experience as a software engineer, I have seen a lot of industry transformation from banking, from retail, from telecommunications, transportation, and probably more recently car manufacturing. So the power of software is key for customers. They want consistency. They want to be able to get in one car into another with the same level of experience. They really want interoperability. So what I have seen is that still we're talking about auto industry changes, but sometimes we forget about the problem that we are solving, right? And we are solving 1.3 million of deaths every year on road. So, and more than 50 million of injuries. So how software engineers can actually solve that problem? Yeah, we can use the top-down kind of approach and make a revolution in the industry to see how car manufacturer can actually solve that problem. I'm of the thinking that also adoption is a problem, and I think probably an approach from bottom to top is a good one. First of all, because in order to get those technology, for example, autonomous, you probably have to wait 10 years. In order to get, let's say, anti-collision, you need to buy a car. But remember, the life cycle of a car is 11 years, which means that most of us probably we have to wait a few years to get one of those cars, right? So my approach, and based on my experience working in the consumer space at Amazon and Cisco, is actually what I can do today in order to solve that problem, right? And it's very simple. We have this technology here in our hand, everybody, right? Why you don't use the camera of the phone and all those artificial intelligence algorithms to actually get alert? Sometimes when we get into a car, it's very helpful to somebody nearby to tell us, hey, be careful, because we are human and we get distracted. It's very, very, very easily. So my approach to that, and this is why I founded Wavyn, is a startup building software for preventing road crashes. And we use a simple way, and the more important, this is for any person, for any car, and from today. We don't need to wait. That's the way that we do. You could say, oh, but this doesn't break the braking system, right? How do you, when you detect the car with the camera, how do you brake the car? How do you braking? So it's still, there is 43% of the accident can be prevented by braking system, but still there is some number, about 23% of the crashes can be prevented only by the alert. So it's the technology that is already available. And you cannot believe how many software developers in the world are now learning Python and TensorFlow, which are the tool that we are using for those kind of features. So again, focusing on the problem to avoid accidents probably is something that we can do from now. So I still believe the adoption, like in any industry transformation, is depending actually the public to accept the technology. And we know that more than 70% of the people actually don't trust on the technology. They believe that it's too new, it's not proven yet. And there are three things, three psychological challenges. We're talking about the ethical dilemma. Would the car that I buy kill me rather than the pedestrian? Then also we have the opacity of the technology. You know, it's kind of, this is a decision-making process algorithm that I don't fully understand. This is a black box. So those are the kind of thing. And the latest one is the overreaction by the public. You know, it's funny. There are more than 3,000 deaths every day in the U.S. However, However, when Uber killed a pedestrian, actually this was on the headline of New York Times, right? So I believe that we have a big problem here in the public opinion, and I think the technology needs to be communicated, socialized, so the driver actually understand what is behind this, and actually we can actually move together. So I think there is a bottom-up approach for using those technology. So I'm advocate, to answer your question, I'm advocate for computer vision type of technology rather than a bunch of sensors that probably is going to be very, very hard, very expensive for an entry level.
Thank you. I'll come back to you. And Rafael, back to you. What are the current and future challenges that you're facing when we use such technologies in this segment? And how is it possible to overcome that?
So I think, as I said before, I think opening the technology and the platforms for developers, I think is the more challenging because, well, opening a mobile phone is not as dangerous as opening car sensors. However, we have seen in previous industry how there are so many great use cases that we don't know yet, and a single big company cannot solve. If you remember the telecom industry, they were too busy building the infrastructure so everybody have a phone call at the same time that they didn't have time actually to work with close to the consumer to understand what they want to use the phone for, right? The only thing that they came up in some way with the SMS, but it was about making phone calls. But then later we have platforms like Apple and Google who democratize this kind of platform, and everybody now can build use cases. I don't need to tell you what's happening in the last 10 years with those platforms and those applications, right, that change industry. So I do believe that the car is going to experiment some of the thing. However, it's not going to happen, those transformation, unless that we let thousands and thousands or millions of developers to think about problems or things that the driver can do in the car. So how do we do this? How we let, I've been talking to people from car manufacturers, and some of them are actually opening APIs and SDK in order for developers to play a little bit with the info system, right? But the info system is not enough. People really, ourselves, we use the camera of the phone, which is not the best camera possible, right? But how we can use the camera of the car is already there. Maybe not the camera that they use for the safety, but can be one of the camera in the car that is not very expensive, just available for developer to build experiences. So I think this is a big challenge. I think the car manufacturers still think that they can build everything by themselves, but it's proven that it's impossible. There's a bunch of use cases, and the more important, car manufacturer, I don't know how many software developers they have, but I mean, there is a study from McKinsey that they say that I think 90%, then 10% are software developer. However, you go to Google or Apple, it's the opposite. It's 90% are software developer. And customers love this because they want to get in one car, buy another car, and everything works seamless. So they don't need to learn new things every time they go from one car to another. That happened as well in the streaming TV industry, right? You buy a TV and you need to learn a new system. Then you go to the TV in the kitchen, and it's different. And people want to have only one voice assistant and want to have only one interface across all the screens. That's why now Roku and Fire TV are very popular. So with the car, I expect to be the same. And the solution is opening APIs from those cars the best as possible and the sooner, so a bunch of engineers can start innovating. I think that's what I feel that will accelerate adoption of the transformation of the auto industry.
I must say I'm very inspired by your technology that you've used. You show me in your app, and I think it's a great thing. I'm sure you're going to be very successful.
Thank you.
Thank you.